night, another win for everyone trying to make our food supply in America healthier. Nestle just announced that it will remove all artificial dyes from its foods by next year. It's just the latest big food company to announce such a move, joining the likes of Kraft, Heinz, and General Mills. This comes as Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed a bill this week requiring warning labels on some food items. And starting in August, 7 types of harmful food dyes will be banned from school lunches in West Virginia. Now, look, we can all agree that good nutrition keeps us healthy, but how to implement these changes to our diet is still up for debate. And our next guest has some ideas. CEO of Nourish Science, Jerold Mande, just published new findings that show that RFK Jr.'s recent Make America Healthy Again report got almost everything right when it comes to nutrition being linked to chronic illness. We should note that this same report was just torched during yesterday's congressional hearings because it had several citation errors. But Mande's bigger concern is with Trump's big, beautiful bill. The current version is proposing big cuts to SNAP benefits like food stamps. So how do low-income families afford healthy food items that Maha says they need to be eating to get healthy again? Here with us is the CEO of Nourish Science, Jerold Mande. He's also a public health professor at Harvard School of Public Health. You know, healthy food is expensive food. How do we get this into mainstream America's diet if they can't afford it?
Well, good evening, Elizabeth, and thank you for having me back again. The way we need to do it is companies need to produce food that we can thrive on and so it doesn't make us sick. The burden should be on them. It shouldn't be on us to try to buy food. If they're going to sell food in a store, it's the law. They need to do the testing and ensure if it's eaten as they intend it to be. So if it's a snack food eaten every day or a ready-to-heat and eat meal, you need to be able to eat that and thrive or certainly not get sick. And that's not what they're doing. And the government needs to hold them accountable.
Nourish Science published data that shows that more than 86% of people have what's considered a low-quality diet. 86%? That's almost everyone.
You're right, and we use the government's own data. There's something called the NHANES. It's the Health Examination Survey, where we go out and survey Americans and see what we eat. And then we used another government tool. It's called the Healthy Eating Index. It gives Americans a grade if you're healthy, if you follow, how much do you follow the dietary guidelines. If you have a score of 90 or above, you get an A, and if you're below 60, you get an F. So we applied the government's own grading system against what people are eating as they found in the NHANES study, and we found, as you said, 86% of Americans have a score actually of less than 60. So it's really failing, and of course we can tell that that's accurate by how sick we are, the fact that we have the shortest lifespans and our children are sick.
What do we need to be eating more of, and what do we need to be eating less of? Because the reason I ask that question is because I'm pretty sure I know the answer because I've read so much of your stuff. But what we need to be eating more of is the most expensive stuff. Fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, whole foods, whole grains. Those are all really expensive, and poor people often can't afford it or don't have access to it.
Well, they're not expensive in the way you think. You know, when I was at USDA, we had read those studies and we had them redo it. It turned out the original studies that said eating fresh produce is so expensive was based on a per calorie basis. When we had them redo the data on a volume basis, which is what fills our bellies, produce in season is some of the cheaper food. But here's the problem. That's how much it costs to get it at the store. The cost that makes it so prohibitive for so many Americans, particularly low-income Americans, is the time cost of translating those whole foods into meals,
right.
The preparation of the food. And that's what really is the sticking point, that it takes too much time. And that's what's the sort of potential wonder of processed foods. They can be convenient. You can heat them right up and eat them. And what we need to do then is not to force people to make all their food themselves, not to force them to have to study labels, force the companies to make the foods that when people eat them, they'll thrive. That's the business they're in. It's kind of like if you were in the car business, job one is people need to get safely from one to A to B, and then you have a lot of things to add value to your car. That's about food. Food, you should be able to eat it and thrive. And companies need to, the CEOs of companies need to insist on that, and the government needs to insist on it.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.